as we all know, it's a bunch of things going on with the economy. Prices changing, people don't know what to do. It's a bunch of uncertainty, and basically people are concerned where they're going to go to get the goods and the things that they need the most. Typically when we see things like this happen, we've seen it with the recession, we saw it sadly even with the pandemic. There are some industries that thrive. There are some industries that do very well, actually. In fact, there's some industries that not only do very well to where the businesses grow and thrive, but more people enter those businesses, more people enter that sector, and more people start a business. And frankly, as we all know, you could say out with the old and with the new, but sometimes something that's old can be new, especially to somebody else. This leads to vintage stores, specifically secondhand thrift stores. These stores did very well, or at least the industry overall did pretty well, unfortunately, through the last big global crisis that we've seen. It could work out the same way now, but that's not a guarantee. Either in person or online, doesn't matter. These businesses typically do quite well when we're seeing some global uncertainty like we're seeing right now, especially coming up with the tariffs, not to mention what could be retaliatory tariffs. So what we're gonna do is, as I go shop for some pieces, because I've always liked secondhand stores, always liked thrift stores. Found a fantastic Brooks Brothers suit in one many moons ago. We are actually going to check out a few local vintage places, maybe even talk to a few of the owners to get an idea of what they're seeing, what they're forecasting, and also just some opportunities for you to find some good stuff too, some finds, you know what I'm saying? As we also examine what's going to happen with this industry, how it's going to help us as consumers, and also as a small business owner and entrepreneur, if there's an opportunity for you to maybe diversify your portfolio and maybe find another revenue stream. So let's get into it as we do a little shopping, a lot of research, sharing information, and most importantly, giving you the opportunities and the options that are out there and available. So if you're an owner of the business, you'll see what's impacting you, what could be coming in on the horizon. And of course, if you're a consumer or you're looking to enter this industry, well, you get an idea of what's out there, what's happening, what are the big impacts coming your way, and also maybe some opportunities and some strategies that you can use and leverage for your small business in the vintage, secondhand, and thrift. So as we do some shopping, let's get it. Vintage stores and thrift stores typically see a surge in popularity during periods of economic uncertainty and downturn. When the cost of living rises, more and more people face financial instability, and typically consumers will turn to secondhand markets for affordable options, especially when it comes to clothes, consumer goods, small appliances, and small electronics. Historical patterns show that economic downturns such as the Great Recession and, sadly, COVID-19 pandemic led to an increased interest in thrift and vintage shopping as people seek to stretch their budgets. And this also has seen a surge right after during periods where people were interested in what is old is new trends and revamping and revisiting old-fashioned trends. For example, during the Great Recession, nearly 2/3 of U.S. resale store respondents reported 31% average increase in sales. Similarly, a 2024 report found that 58% of shoppers turned to resale due to increased living costs and 53% for the cost savings compared to buying new items. How does that impact you as a resale and vintage shop owner? Well, of course, potential surges in business. But let's take a deeper dive into the economic impact on vintage and thrift stores, both from a positive standpoint, but we also have to be honest and look at the negative drawbacks that could occur due to economic changes. All right, now, y'all, so we are in the Portage Park neighborhood, and we found a couple of really cool spots. Not only going to look for a jacket, I am still going to probably buy a bunch of stuff I don't need right now. But actually, no, I do need something. I need coasters. And I know that sounds crazy, but hey, brother needs what a brother needs. And I've been looking around, and hey, if we're out here, let's support the shops and let's make this happen. So as we shop, let's talk about the role that online marketplaces are playing in the growth in thrift stores, and specifically how they're helping to expand the reach and accessibility of those stores to connect with those target audience I'd be bringing up. Now, online marketplaces have revolutionized the thrift store industry by dramatically expanding its reach. There's a couple of ways that thrift stores and vintage stores can connect with them, but let's really get down to the nitty gritty. Through platforms like ThredUp, Poshmark, Depop, and Vinted, thrift stores and individuals can connect with buyers far beyond their local areas, enabling nationwide and even global transactions. This breaks down the geographic barriers, allowing thrift stores and vintage stores to access a much larger and more diverse customer base than traditional brick and mortar locations could ever achieve. Now you can connect and have an extension of your store by connecting with people online and building out that bridge to grow your target audience. Not just local, going beyond the local. Focus on the local, because I'm local, focus on local. But build it out. You never know. Your best customer could be an ocean away or at least a few miles away in an entirely another county. Let's head downstairs because this place is awesome. This place has 2 levels. Okay, I'm gonna call that out right now. We need to make sure we keep that in mind. They have a downstairs, and I'm gonna go crazy. Dude, if I had the space, this would be my place. Seriously. So with the emergence of online and peer-to-peer resale marketplaces, this has helped make secondhand shopping more mainstream. This is why we're seeing a completely larger target audience, or not even a target audience. We're seeing a larger audience in general from pretty much all economic positions join in and purchasing and supporting vintage stores, thrift stores, secondhand stores. These platforms have normalized the purchase of used goods, particularly among younger shoppers, and focus on sustainability-minded consumers as well. The convenience and accessibility of online thrifting has attracted new demographics, turning what was once a niche or necessity-driven activity into a popular, conscious lifestyle choice. So thrift stores and vintage stores have become more lifestyle brands as opposed to strictly being conscientious, budget-driven brands and budget-driven businesses and industry. This is driving up the industry growth. The digital transformation of thrifting has significantly contributed to the sector's growth. Think about it this way. What we are seeing in the U.S. thrift store industry, for example, has been substantial expansion with online marketplaces cited as the key driver. This has helped storefronts and physical locations grow, not just because they're connecting with more customers, but because they're getting more exposure even with their local customers. People who may not have known that the store even existed in a neighborhood now knows it because of platforms like Facebook, Craigslist, ThredUp, and so on and so forth. By providing detailed product descriptions, high quality images, and new user reviews, which is critical, user reviews, these platforms enhance the shopping experience and build trust, further encouraging consumers to embrace secondhand goods. This goes to the convenience and variety, as well as the sustainability and you know what I'm trying to say. Another major place to leverage or tool to leverage is the technological innovations in the potential partnerships. Technology has enabled thrift stores to streamline a lot of operations and manage their inventory efficiently, especially like I mentioned, if you have multiple locations. They can innovate their business models and they can connect with other brands outside of their industry to build better business relationships. For example, ThredUp's managed marketplace handles everything from quality inspection to shipping, making it easier for individuals to sell and for buyers to trust the process. A strategic partnership such as ThredUp's resale as a service program with major retailers further integrates thrift into the broader retail economic system. There are other programs where companies will inspect the clothes before placing them for sale, making sure that you're getting a competitive market price as well as a competitive profit margin if you do sell through that third party. Also, partnerships through distribution services such as DHL or UPS is another opportunity to connect and build with a partner to get your product in the people's hands at an affordable price, and that way you are not losing out on profit margins. But my thing, you know I got to go to it, marketing and community building, baby. Social media and online marketing channels have become essential tools for thrift stores to connect with the customers as well as showcase products and build loyal communities. As mentioned, one of the best things about these online communities is it's an opportunity for you to directly speak with the audience. There's also influencer collaborations and user-generated content campaigns. That's right, user-generated content campaign. Like a user going into your thrift store, a user going into your vintage store, and I don't know, taking video and posting it on his podcast. If there's anything I'm missing, anything I need, come in here, get my stuff. And I think I found my coasters. I've been looking for my coasters. I need my coasters. And I was like, well, instead of going online and trying to buy them, let me see, since I'm going around looking for a couple of jackets and some shirts. And I think I found the coasters. Influencer collaborations and user-generated content campaigns can help drive engagement in a more authentic and genuine marketing campaign to build a real relationship community. Take a real quick look at the online marketplaces and thrift store growth and the role they have played. What key opportunities can you take for your store or stores and leverage to grow your business? All right, now y'all, so we got a couple really cool items here. About to check out 2 more shops. We're going into a neighborhood that I am very familiar with, absolutely love. But man, they keep popping up with new shops all the time. And I am going to try to find a jacket. I'm still looking for a jacket. But how will the tariffs influence the popularity of thrift stores and vintage stores? And what are those opportunities that you can take as an owner, potential investor, a startup in this area, or a person who just wants to support, right, the businesses? There's a way for you to even take advantage of these opportunities and turn potential economic drawbacks and strife into something positive for your local community, and a business owner, or you as a business owner, can turn this to something positive for your business. So, of course, tariffs on imported goods are just taxes, right? Especially what we're seeing is footwear and clothing. Now, there's uncertainty everywhere, y'all. It's going up and down. It's all over the place. There's no consistency in the communications that any of us are getting. And as a business owner, this is where your risk management hat has to be on at all times and on high alert. Like I mentioned earlier, taking advantage of certain holidays and, days where people will want to go out and shop a little bit more, even if they're hanging on to their pennies a little stronger. You want to be sure to take advantage of those. Fair Trade Day. Of course, we have vintage and thrift store days coming up, but you want to make sure you're also taking advantage of major holidays like a Memorial Day or Labor Day, days that people want to shop for because maybe they're going out and they want to wear something new. But once again, they're not trying to break the bank. An increased demand for secondhand goods is happening right now as we speak. As tariffs drive up the costs on new clothing, and they're not slowing down because it keeps going back and forth, and major big box retailers and major fashion and apparel retailers are doing their best to navigate, but of course the consumer is caught in the middle. You could be that consistent line, that consistent lifeline to consumer products, especially clothing, apparel, and small electronics that they can rely on, even entertainment that they can rely on and that they will want to support because you're their neighbor. Right? We're seeing hikes, crazy hikes. We're seeing hikes of prices up to 65, even 85% on apparel and leather goods, right? We're talking about increases that people will have to now dip in and consider, do I need to buy food, medication, or clothes? You could be that lifeline to where they don't have to make those choices, or at least they don't have to make such hard decisions. And unfortunately, we are seeing significant impacts, not only with global conflict, but of course with the economic impact on 4 of the biggest suppliers of consumer goods from around the world. So what are the growth opportunities in the resale market that you can take advantage of as a business owner, potential investor, or as an entrepreneur? First off, there's significant growth, as we mentioned, when there's economic instability. The best way to take advantage of that, and advantage of that meaning that you can have sustained business, you can have a better connection with your target audience, and once again, you can be that lifeline to some opportunity for new clothing, or of course, new old clothing, and some consumer goods. By making sure that you are staying aware, or at least your consumers and your audience in your neighborhood is aware of your business. Best way to do that is to combine in-store and online marketing communications. Streamline everything. Your logo consistently across online platforms. And the three main platforms, of course, you need to be on are Facebook, Yelp, and Google Maps. You need to ensure that your contact information is accurately listed. That way, those who are looking for secondhand stores, thrift stores, vintage stores can find you, and your information is consistent on no matter what platform they go to. The idea is you're kind of thinking for the consumer at this point, because the thrift and resale industry is not only poised to see significant growth this year, but potentially for the next 4 to 6 years, because it's already expanded rapidly and is sustaining that expansion. And we're seeing an activity increases of sales online due to those third-party marketplaces. Connecting to those marketplaces will be a lifeline for you to ensure you have continuous growth. As I said, economy goes up, economy goes down. You don't want to be subject to those shifts. You don't want to be just bouncing all around, right? You have to have that risk management hat on and be prepared. As the economy shifts, you can stay steady. And as one revenue stream maybe takes a slight hit, another revenue stream is there to support you. This also leads to potential higher prices in thrift stores. We want to be cautious that, yes, as you get that increased foot traffic, you do not increase your prices so much to where you look like a big box or larger retailer. This can actually price you out of a target audience and a consumer base that you have built up. Don't price yourself out of business to where you price too much, and don't price yourself out of business where you price down. Being connected to the online marketplaces, you can see what opportunities are there when it comes to pricing. What are your local competitors pricing at? You need to do market research on a regular basis. If there's 4 or 5 vintage and thrift stores around you, if they have similar items, if you haven't differentiated your brand, maybe you focus more on sustainability, maybe you focus more on products of a certain genre or circa time period, that's great. But if you don't, and you're a little bit more of a generalist, you want to be sure that you are identifying what other thrift stores and vintage stores are pricing at, so you do not price yourself out completely or price yourself out of business. As mentioned, due to the fact that some thrift stores may have harder supply chain issues because of the fact they get them from maybe a community that isn't donating as much or isn't reselling as much, building out an online inventory channel is going to be critical. Letting people know where they can donate, letting people know where they can sell back if you do offer that, and how often you get new products in will be critical to ensuring that you can maintain foot traffic, but you can also remain competitive on price as well, because you will have a steady churn of new products that people will pay potentially at that premium. And don't fall subject to consumer habits. As mentioned, the economy, when it goes up, although many of these stores do not suffer critical losses, there is a potential downturn, of course, less foot traffic. So put yourself in a position to win, have that risk management hat on, as I keep saying, and think about it this way. If I have an online presence and I have a physical presence, if I promote regularly where either I advertise locally, or maybe I have a regular newsletter where I keep people in communication, I keep people connected to my store. These are great opportunities for when people, maybe they're doing a little bit better economy wise, they're, jobs, new job, new gig, maybe the entire family's not fully employed, because that's typically what happens, right? They're basing it on multiple lines of income coming into the house. Maybe it's normally 2 or 3. And unfortunately, when the economy is suffering, it goes down to 1 person. But when things turn back up, when things go back in there, they're starting to improve, and they have multiple streams of income coming in, people will frequent the secondhand and the thrift stores less. So you've put yourself in a position where even if people are making more money, you have 2 or 3 other consumer bases that you can reach out to, whether it's through your email marketing, it is through your advertising channel that you've already set up, and identified as successful for you, or you've put yourself in an online marketplace where people can find your products and they can start ordering from you and they have no problem paying for shipping costs. And at this point, you have a relationship developed with a shipper and a supplier where you can negotiate good prices, and your consumer does not have to eat the costs of all of that shipping. There's opportunities there, but you want to be cautious and make sure you're putting yourself in a position to win. All right, now, y'all. So did a lot of shopping, went to thrift stores, went to vintage stores, went to secondhand stores. Not to mention, of course, I saw some great products and picked up some great stuff. But most importantly, I met some great business owners who are out here supporting their community. So be sure to support them. Listen, plus, it's Chicago, and this is how Chicago does it. We support our people, right? We support our own. It's our first ever Vintage Shop Day. May 17th. Go find your boutiques, go find your thrift stores, go find your secondhand stores, go find your vintage stores. There are a ton in your community right now that are going to celebrate this day. If you're listening, if it's May 17th right now, you're listening to this, go. If it's May 16th right now, prepare to go. Find one. There's a great list of vintage stores and thrift stores and secondhand stores this episode. But make sure, even if you couldn't make it on the first ever day to do this, please take the time to go out throughout the year and support these places. Don't wait until maybe have some economic instability. Don't wait for that. Hopefully that never happens to you. Focus on going to support the stores that are supporting your neighborhood. Sometimes these people's first time jobs. Sometimes this is a person's first business, right? It's a good business to get into. Sometimes their first business. That's why we want to drop some gems of how to potentially promote the business if you're just starting out, and how, of course, to keep promoting the business and keep the business on the top of people's minds, no matter what's going on in the economy, to stay online, to be online. It's very important. So go out there. That's the book of the episode, right? Normally I give you a book of the episode, but in this episode, I got a great list for you guys. It's right here, and it's a Google Doc. It's very simple. Just to go there, click on it, free, of course, just to grab. It's one of our free resources that we give out in every episode. So check it out. These are local places in Chicago, but there's many, many, many great vintage and thrift and secondhand stores all throughout the country. Simple Google search will help you find some local in your neighborhood. But these are the Chicago ones because, hey, in Chicago, like I said, we support our own, we support our small businesses. And that's why we started this. I'm trying to make sure, I don't know if you guys hear this truck. I'm making sure this truck does not back into me. This is the challenge when you do a vlog podcast. You got to keep your head on a swivel, but I played hockey, so it's all good. Anyway, I'm used to that, right? So thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Ambition Show podcast. I've been your host, Aaron Muhammad. Go support your vintage stores, your thrift stores, your secondhand stores. Support the small businesses in your neighborhood. Best to you and yours. And hey, tag me in something that you may have found at the vintage store. Something that you purchased or you picked up. I'm making sure I'm gonna post everything that I found. You should do the same. Let's share and swap. And I might go to that store and spend too much money as I just did today. And I still need a jacket. All right, peace.